Hey, welcome back to Mr. P. Also with Precal. This is lesson 4 on SLT. Lesson 4 on Unit 1, Topic 3. Starting off with a warm-up that goes right with the last 3 lessons. So this is differences of squares. So this is x plus 3 times x minus 3. The bottom one denominator is going to be x plus 4 times x minus 3. Because 4 times negative 3 is negative 12. Add them, you get positive 1. So now the negative 3's cancel out, and you're left with x plus 3 over x plus 4. Horizontal asymptote, so remember when they are the same, you just divide the, so y equals 1 over 1, which equals 1. So that's y equals 1 is the horizontal asymptote. And then the vertical asymptote is what the denominator can't be, so that's x plus 4 cannot be equal to 0. Subtract 4 from both sides means x is negative 4 is the vertical asymptote. All right, so we have a whole at 3, so x minus 3 equals 0, so x equals 3 is the whole. And if you find f of 3 to figure out where it is, we can graph it on our plot our points. So that's 3 squared, which is 9. 9 minus 9 is 0. And 9 plus negative 3 minus 12. So that's 0 over, it really doesn't even matter because 0 over anything is going to be 0. So 9 plus negative 3 is positive 6. 6 minus 12 is negative 6. So the whole looks like it's going to be at 0, 0. No, 3, 0, sorry. 3, 0. Because x was 3. So x is 3 and height is 0, so that means there's a hole right there. All right, so y-intercept, which means x is 0, and solve. So 0 plus 3 over 0 plus 4, and that gives us 3/4. Y-intercept would be 0, 3/4, so I can plot that now. 0, 3/4 would be about right here, give or take. X-intercepts, which would mean our zeros of the function, which would be when the numerator is equal to 0. So that's x plus 3 equals 0. Subtract 3 from both sides, which means x is negative 3. So negative 3, 0 is our x-intercept. That would be right there. Any slant asymptotes, why or why not? There is no slant asymptotes, and the reason why is because the numerator is not bigger than the denominator. And I believe we have enough there to be able to graph. So it's going to look something like this, go this direction, and then something like this on the other side. All right, so what happens when the numerator is bigger than the denominator? That's what's going to happen right here. So 2 is bigger than 1. So I can simplify this like I normally would. So that would be x minus 8 times x plus 1. And the denominator would be x minus 2. Okay, so that might actually help me for later on. But in order to find the slant asymptote, I'm going to need to... So there is no horizontal asymptote because there is going to be a slant asymptote because the top is bigger than the bottom denominator. The exponent and the numerator is bigger than the denominator. So I'm going to divide x squared minus 7x minus 8 divided by x minus 2. So I would have to multiply this by x. X times x is x squared. X times negative 2 is negative 2x. My bad handwriting. So this is negative 7 just to make sure. Subtract those. All right, so x, that's nothing right there. Negative 7 minus negative 2 is really negative 7 plus 2, which is negative 5x. Bring down the minus 8. And what would I have to multiply x by to make a negative 5x? And that would be negative 5. So negative 5 times x is negative 5x. And negative 5 times negative 2 is negative 10. Negative 8 minus negative 10 is really negative 8 plus 10, which is going to give me 2 left over. All right, so x minus 5 is my slant asymptote. So y equals x minus 5. So here's negative 5 right here. And it's going to go up 1, right 1 like this. And then obviously going to go the opposite direction as well. Our vertical asymptote, so that would be what can the denominator not be? So that would be x minus 2 cannot be 0, so x can't be 2. So there's our vertical asymptote. All right, so our whole... So there was no hole here. because there was nothing we cross off in the denominator, so there's only one vertical asymptote. There's not two domains that aren't all real numbers. So Y-intercept would be when the x is 0 and solved, so that would be 0 minus 8. Actually, it'd be easier if I don't use the factor form and use this one right here, because these cancel out 0. This cancels out, leaving me with just negative 8 over negative 2, which is the same thing as 4. So that would be 0, 4. 0, 4 is the Y-intercept, which is right there. X-intercepts. So X-intercepts are found by factoring the top. So x minus 8 equals 0 and x plus 1 equals 0. That means x equals 8. So that would be at 8, 0 is one of the X-intercepts. 8, 0 is right there, and subtract 1 from both sides gives you negative 1, so that's negative 1, 0 is the other. Negative 1, 0 is right there. Okay, so graphing points. So I'm going to take both sides of the vertical asymptote, so both 3 and 1. So if I plug those in for x, let's find out what the answer would be. So 1 minus 8 gives me negative 7. 1 plus 1 is 2. So negative 7 times 2 over 1 minus 2 is negative 1. So negative 7 times 2, negative 2 would be negative 14. Negative 14 divided by negative 1 is positive 14. So 114 is going to be like way up there. If I put 3 in and solve, 3 minus 8 is negative 5. Multiply by 3 plus 1 is 4, and then divide that by 3 minus 2, which is 1. Well, that's going to give me negative 20. So 3 negative 20, it's going to be way down there. Now, I could use more numbers. I could put in 4, and I could just use the next two numbers. 0 I already actually have. If I plug 4 in for x, 4 minus 8 is negative 4. 4 plus 1 makes 5. Divided by 4 minus 2, which is 2. So that's negative 20 divided by 2 is negative 10. 4 negative 10. The reason why I've done that one is because this one's actually going to fit on the graph. So this looks like it's going to go like this. And this side's going to go more like this. All right. And there we have that. All right. Similar question here. So we have, once again, a numerator that's larger than the denominator. So I'm going to go ahead and once again, I'm going to factor this out just to make it easier for later. So I can tell that the numerator both terms can both be divided by x. That makes this x plus 2 over x plus 1. Okay, so the horizontal asymptote. So the top is bigger than the bottom, once again, so therefore we know it's going to be a slant asymptote, so it's not going to have any. So if I divide x squared plus 2x divided by x plus 1, I said horizontal, sorry. Yeah, horizontal. I think I said the right thing. So this multiplied by x, x times x is x squared, 1 times x is 1x. Then we subtract. Anything minus itself is 0. 2 minus 1 makes 1, so we're just left with 1. Sorry, 1x, yes. All right, so the next thing I ask myself is, what would I have to multiply x by to make it x? And that would be 1. So 1 times x is x. There's nothing for me to bring down here, so it's really just 0. So 1 times 1 is 1. Subtract, and you're left with negative 1 left over. All right, so slant asymptote is going to be y equals x plus 1. Your vertical asymptote means the denominator cannot be equal to 0, so that's x plus 1 equals 0. So that means x equals negative 1 is your vertical asymptote. Your horizontal asymptote, there isn't one, but x plus 1 is the, so I know it's going to be right there. Okay, it's not a part of the graph, though, so that's not what I'm trying to do. So right there, and going the same in the opposite direction. All right, so the whole, there is no whole, so because there isn't one because there's only one part of the denominator. and that is the vertical asymptote. So y-intercept means the x can equals 0, so 0 cancels out here, so 0, 0 cancels out here, so that ends up becoming 0 over 0 plus 1 is 1, but that doesn't matter because that's 0. So the y-intercept is 0, 0. Right there. And x-intercepts, which means come on, pen, there we go. All right, so those are the zeros. So I've already factored it, so that means x equals 0 and x plus 2 equals 0. So this would be -2 and 0. All right, so that's 0, 0 is one of the x-intercepts, which the x and y-intercept is both 0, 0. And -2, 0 is the other. So -2, 0 is right there. Okay, so both very close right there. So I'm going to go after one more point on both sides. Well, the next ones are already taken on both sides. So I'm going to do 1. In fact, I'm going to do 1 and 2 on the right-hand side. And on the left-hand side, I'm going to do -3 and maybe even -4. All right, so right-hand side, so 1 and 2, let's find out what those are. So 1 times 1 plus 2, so that's 1 times 1 plus 2 is 3, over 1 plus 1 is 2. So 1 times 3 is 3, 3 divided by 2 is 1.5. 1.5 will be about right there. If I plug 2 in, so that would be 2 times 2 plus 2 is 4, divided by 2 plus 1 is 3. 2 times 4 is 8. 8 divided by 3 is 2 and 2/3. Right, 2 times 3 is 6, plus 2/3 left over. So 2 and 2 and 2/3, 2 and 2/3. Okay, it's going to get really, really close to that asymptote right there. So it looks like this time we're getting really, really, really close to the asymptote. And it's a little bit hard to do with this pen, but I should be getting a little bit close to that asymptote. So now, if I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, so -2 I was already done, -3, maybe I don't even need -4. And -3 is going to be really, really close here. So that's -3 times -3 plus 2 makes -1 divided by -2. That gives me 3. 3 divided by -2 is -1.5. So -3, -1.5 is like right there. I think my line is actually a little bit off, and that just means that this is going to come super close as well on the other side, and there you go. And I'm going to try to squeeze one more question in here, although I'm probably going to run out of time because I realize I'm already at 12.5 minutes. So I can factor out x squared in both of these. So that leaves me with just x minus 4 on top. And then the bottom can be changed to x minus 2 times x plus 2. Now this one's special because this time we're actually going to have two vertical asymptotes. So we have x equals 2 and x equals -2. I'm kind of having to do this pretty quickly because, like I said, I'm running low on time, as I noticed the last time I paused. And this one is going to be right there at 2. So slant asymptote, which means I'm going to divide that divided by x squared minus 4. So x squared goes into x cubed. That'll be x amount of times. That's x cubed. X times -4 is -4x. Okay, so subtract, and that's going to leave me with nothing here. -4x squared minus no x squares here is still -4x squared, and bring down the -4x. Nothing minus negative. Okay, that's actually going to be a positive. Because there's no x's here, no x's minus -4x makes this. And then I ask myself, what would I have to multiply this by to make it this? And that would be -4. -4 times that is -4x squared. -4 times -4 is positive 16. And that's going to leave me with 4x minus 16. And there's nothing I can multiply this by to make it equal to this. So it looks like x minus 4 is my slant asymptote, starting here, going diagonal this direction and this direction. So now a hole. We actually have two vertical asymptotes, so there's no holes. And the y-intercept, oh, I'm really running out of time. So the y-intercept is when x is 0, so that's 0, and this is all 0. 0 over -4 is still 0, so that's 0, 0. We know is right there. X-intercepts where it is 0, so that's be the top. So x squared equals 0 and x minus 4 equals 0. And what I would need to do for putting in the graphing points is plot these points. So 2, 5, 1, -1, and -3, and that's where I'm going to have to stop right there, and just going to have to get this all on your own. Thanks again for watching. Have a great day.